Hi guys, thanks for joining us. My name's Haley, as you know, and I'm really excited to be doing this Insta Live with my dear friend Lisa of the Lymphatic Message. And we're going to be moderated by our dear friend Christine. So if you hear another voice kind of popping in and out of this live video today, that's who it is. So we are really excited. We're going to talk about the lymphatic system and how to get your optimal glow for your summer skincare. So I want Lisa to go ahead and start and introduce herself, give you a little bit of her background, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks all of you who are tuning in. It's so exciting. And Haley, thanks for collaborating. This is so exciting. My name's Lisa Gainsley. I'm a certified lymphedema therapist and a body worker, a yoga teacher, and a health educator. I've been studying the lymphatic system for 25 years. When I was in college, I was really interested in the way different cultures heal. And this was in the 80s when it wasn't quite as assimilated as Eastern and Western and other healing traditions are as they are today. So I wanted to go into a healing modality that seemed in line with my ancestry and who my culture is. And when I started in bodywork school in the early 90s, lymphatic drainage was one of the prerequisites, and I just fell in love with the work. And one of the things I really love about it is everybody has a lymphatic system. It's not one culture, it's not one socioeconomic class. If you live on planet Earth, you have a lymphatic system. It is part of your immune system. There are so many benefits to lymphatic drainage, and we've seen so much growth and awareness in the field for the past 25 years, and there's still more exciting medical breakthroughs. As we've seen even in the past 5 years, you know, surgeons and doctors and biologists are finally recognizing and acknowledging that inflammation is at the root of disease. So your lymphatic system, for those of you who are watching, if you might not know that much about your lymphatic system, I want to give you just a little bit of a quick education. Your lymphatic system runs like rivers all through your body, very similar to the bloodstream. Whatever the body isn't going to pee or poop or sweat out, it's too big for the bloodstream to get picked up, it hangs out in the interstitial fluid underneath the surface of your skin. It waits to get absorbed by the lymphatic precollectors and capillaries, and they have their own network of veins and vessels that are one-way valves that move your lymphatic fluid, which is made up of pathogens, bacteria, toxins, excess waste, metabolic waste from your body cells. And it moves them to areas where you have lymph nodes. The largest collection are in your neck, the armpit, the axillary nodes, the abdomen, and the top of the thigh, the inguinals. You have some behind the elbow and behind the knee. Inside those lymph nodes are your white blood cells. It's where white blood cells are produced. Your T cells, macrophages, lymphocytes. And what the function of those white blood cells do is they break down the debris inside, and then it returns, your lymphatic returns cleanly to your bloodstream. It's this great recycling system of your body, right?
Yes.
And the last thing I want to, well, it's never the last thing, but the one other thing, important thing I want you to know as we're learning about lymphatic drainage is with the blood, most of us know, those of us who paid attention to biology, not everybody did, the blood gets pumped by the heart, okay? So your pumping mechanism for the blood is the heart. The lymphatic system does not have its own pump. It depends on your muscle motility. That's why we say exercise, moving your body is a good thing. And lymphatic drainage. These strokes that were developed by Dr. Vader in the 30s really are specific in their direction. They're specific in the pressure and how slow they move. So as we're going to show you some things to do to help boost your immunity, these are the things that I want you to keep in mind, and I'm going to repeat them. Pressure, your cadence, direction.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, I love that. I wish I could just swim in your head, because just to kind of go into where I tie into this is that in skincare, and you and I have talked about this too, through exchanging our services, is it actually, if an esthetician is not comprehending the way that the lymphatic system works, especially as you mentioned, most of the drainage areas are in the areas that we're working on, because we work from the décolleté up. And with our most common inflammatory issues, it's usually a lack of flow. So that waste that needs to be sort of dumped out and drained out, if it doesn't have an area to go, it's going to manifest itself onto the skin. So it's a conversation I am constantly having and evolving with my clientele, because I feel like it's the biggest service to them to encourage them to do things at home, so that instead of just adding more products or kind of disconnecting them from that very important system, like they'll then kind of understand that they have just as much information and they can do just as much without going over in their cost to treat their skin. So I'm so excited to go through this. The majority of the clients that I treat in my practice have an inflammatory condition, and they range in their immunity with their overall health. And I find that the majority of people are more often women, and then women who are experiencing hormonal imbalance or fluctuation that they're just not as much in tune with. So I often have to have a conversation of like, you know, this phase of the month your immunity goes up because your hormones are going up, and then they drop right back down. So how can we support the lymphatic system to make sure that you don't have all of these other symptoms that either manifest in discomfort or horrible periods, or just kind of end up on the face. One of the most common misconceptions is, you know, the terminology of hormonal acne. It's actually, in my opinion, low immunity caused acne. It's low immunity caused triggers because the lymphatic system doesn't have as nice of a flow. And the accumulations that we end up getting through either the hormonal imbalance or somebody that's just low immunity based off whatever lifestyle choice that they may need to improve upon, is what can cause a lot of those different types of inflammatory conditions. So that could be, you know, breakouts, overall just congestion. Sometimes it can be rosacea flares just because there's a lack of flow. So it's trying to kind of cause some of that redness and that vascularity come up to the surface. Or even hyperpigmentation. That can be a lack of flow to the lymphatic system. So we have to activate that in order for the melanocytes to properly drain out, because it's essentially a protein. And also just the
stress.
Yes, all of it.
This is one of the things I actually wanted to ask you today, and check in with people who are tuning in, is, I don't know about you, but in my practice, the past year and a half, I've seen so many people coming in with so much more stress.
Yes.
Stress and anxiety, and I'm seeing that's leading to so much more depletion, inflammation, and just this general feeling of run down, sometimes in the jaw, the throat. Some of us have experienced, right, your lymph nodes sometimes will swell under your neck when you're fighting an infection, which can be normal. If it doesn't stay, if it doesn't go away, I always recommend people check in with their doctor and have an imaging just so we know what we're working with. But have you seen that? Have you seen so much more stress leading to
absolutely
more issues in the face?
And I've struggled with that myself too, and I started to kind of keep an inventory with it. With me, because I'm so active of taking care of my face, everything from the neck up, my tension doesn't necessarily hold straight here, but it'll hold in the other areas of my
your gut and your abdomen.
So just making sure that I'm supporting that, giving it that nice massage makes the world of a difference, and then it tunes me back in to assess my stress management.
Yeah, and you know, I love that you brought up your abdomen, because you're hearing so many people now, so many practitioners and doctors talking about gut health. And how your gut health, and I really do prescribe to this too, which is your gut health really has to do with your overall health and immunity as well. I mean, when you think about it, we're all born from our abdomens, right? From the umbilical cord, you know? So it's definitely the source. And your digestion, I'm sure you've seen also, can manifest in other places in the body. If your digestion is not optimal, you'll see it in your face. You'll
Oh,
see
yeah.
it in other areas of your body.
The face is the perfect sort of translator of what's going on internally. To me, I don't necessarily believe in any bad skin conditions because I believe it's just messaging from the body. And those blocks that we end up getting on the skin is just a lack of flow. So we have to get that flow back in order to achieve the glow that we're looking for. But we can't do that without assessing what might be imbalanced internally first. So in addition to supporting all those other aspects of our hormonal health, our digestive health, you know, our nervous system, our endocrine system, everything kind of all together, which seems like a lot, but one of the best ways to do that, in my opinion, is to first start with the lymphatic system.
Yay,
you know,
thank you for saying that.
Address
Yeah.
all of the other potential
Yes.
health habits that, you know, could use some reevaluating. But in my opinion, from the work I do with my clients and my own personal work, you know, on a personal note, I think everyone on my Instagram, for one, knows about my bloating issues. And when you gave me my lymphatic treatment, it was probably the best circulation I felt without feeling drained. I actually felt really energized, and it encouraged me, like, okay, there's actually a solution to this, and I could potentially get past this, where this isn't just my life, you know? So in addition to other, you know, health, you know, shifts I have had to do, and just assessing the stress, because that's the root of all of it, it's what's causing the inflammation. I noticed, probably out of all the modalities I tried, that your treatment was just the most, I don't know really, I know how to say it, because like everything else kind of worked, but it was the most long lasting, and it was the least invasive.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I do. And that, thank you for sharing your experience. I appreciate that. And just so you guys know, if you don't live in Los Angeles, there's ways to find lymphatic practitioners in your area too, if you can't come see me, because the work is the work. I'm not necessarily doing anything different than some of my other practitioners, but addressing the abdomen is so important to help build your immunity. And it's one of the reasons why I fell in love with this work, is I was sharing that.
Yes.
You know, one of the other things I want to talk about with estheticians like you, there's two things I really want to share with everyone. Is one of the things I love about your services is that you are so conscious about the products you use.
Yes, absolutely.
60% at least of what we put on our skin gets absorbed into the lymphatic system. So if you're putting chemicals, aluminum, parabens on your skin, on your face, you're asking the lymphatic system to work extra hard to filter out those toxins when you really don't need to, especially nowadays. 25 years ago when I started, it was hard to find natural skincare products, and people thought I was nuts.
Yeah.
But now there's so much more awareness in the beauty and wellness world, recognizing how important that is. And I love that in your facials, you take care to educate people and use those.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what triggered me to need to switch to that, because I had a hard time filtering all of the toxicity in the conventional skincare I was using in my spa practices. So I worked for plastic surgeon, and I also worked for conventional spas. So even though in my own practice and in my own regimen at home, I was using mostly all natural, plant derived, or, you know, whatever type of skincare, just cleaner skincare, I was administering these up to like 5 to 8 times a day. So eventually my immune system crashed, and I got shingles at 27,
crazy.
which kind of ties back into that stress aspect of it, because that was an aspect of my life that was causing the stress I didn't even have awareness of until I crashed. So it's an inevitable thing. I had to make the switch for my own personal health. And then since then, I've attracted this clientele. I was always working on women with hormonal imbalance and women who are pregnant and just need to make that shift anyways, out of the safety of the development of the fetus. And then I just was like, well, you know what? I know that it's great to work on pregnant women and to have this option. I'm like, but this kind of needs to be the norm for everybody. Right. So let me just start from here.
Yes.
And they feel safe. So, you know, just like you, I treat so many people with such a wide variety of chronic disease, and they finally feel like they can get a treatment and some safety in that. So it might not be as immediate and results driven, just like a regular Swedish massage might feel kind of like you're getting beat up and you feel like you've released some tension, but that slow progression and that encouragement of flow and that safety behind it, the intention behind it, is what ultimately gives you that more like long-term health benefit, you know?
Yeah, I do know. You know, I have people who come to me that they will tell me deep tissue massage, although I love receiving deep tissue massage.
Yes, it's great.
If you have an underlying lymphatic condition, or if you've had cancer treatment or lymph nodes removed, it can be counterproductive to move your lymph. So lymphatic drainage is so safe for people who are going through cancer treatment, have been through cancer treatment, had lymph nodes removed, or radiation, which is a big part of my clientele. But no matter where you are on your health continuum, lymphatic drainage is really safe and supportive for your entire immune system. So should we show people some tips?
I'm so excited.
What do you think? So one of the things that I really, really love about you and so many people in your field, there are so many estheticians who are actually well trained in lymphatic drainage. There's a Dr. Vodder class that
which I'm taking next year.
Good.
I'm so excited. I know a lot, but I know that training and any esthetician who is trained in it, like, they are just so much more elevated in their results. You know?
Because the reason why it's so important is what you're talking about today, right? Is the neck. So in lymphatic drainage, all of your lymphatic fluid, when it returns to your heart, goes through the subclavian vein, which is right about here. So your right and left lymphatic ducts, which are above the hollow, above your collarbone, is going to receive the fluid from your head and neck and your face. So many estheticians, they might just do a quick little thing on the neck. But people who are knowledgeable and well trained understand that you're asking the body to take all this excess waste and toxins and bringing it down to the areas of elimination, to drainage, the top of the neck. I'm going to give one analogy for you guys. I made up this analogy, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, and I use it all the time. Let's say you have a dirty ring around your bathtub.
Yes.
You remember me saying this to you. Don't give the answer right away. Let's say you have a dirty ring around your bathtub and you want to clean it. What's the first thing you do? What do most people say?
You have to unclog it.
Well, most people say you just go and you wash the ring, right?
Yeah.
And what I always say to people, okay, imagine you just get a sponge and you start to clean around that ring, but you haven't cleared the hair from the drain. What's going to happen when you fill out the water and you start rubbing that dirty ring? What's going to happen at that drain site?
Just bubbles up. It keeps accumulating of all the waste.
Of all the waste fluid. So what I'm going to encourage you all to do, we're going to start at the neck because this is the area of drainage for the head and neck. So when you are clearing, quote unquote, the hair from the drain, what you're doing is, imagine that bathtub, that dirty ring. If you clear that hair from the drain first, then you put the water in, then you wash, by the time that fluid gets to the drain, what's going to happen? It's just going to suck it right down through like a vacuum effect. So
you get a clean tub.
You get it clean, right? So so if you have acne spots up here, you want to make sure you address all this neck first. And I sit around at home when I'm watching TV at night, if I'm feeling a little cold coming on, and I stimulate my lymphatic system. Christine, our producer back there, she's starting to sit up straight, find her lymph. So I'm going to show you one picture first. I'm going to grab this little picture to show you guys because I really love this image. Sorry if I'm off screen for a second. Am I on? Am I on, guys? So what I love about this image is you can see the areas of drainage, okay? And as you see in the head and neck, all of this fluid that's coming by the ear is also going to come down the neck. And this one right here, this is where your subclavian vein is. This is where the fluid's going to return back to your bloodstream, right? So I love people to have this image before we begin. Got it? Got the image? Are we good?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So now, remember, what are the things I said? pressure, cadence, direction. Your lymphatic system, I'll describe it kind of like a bus, okay? It's slow, it's not a Ferrari, okay? So this there's no quick movements. Those of you out there who are type A personality, come to be.
Start with a nice deep breath
Take
before
a
you...
nice deep breath. That will also help pump your lymphatic fluid. Deep abdominal breathing helps the abdomen. But let's find the right and left lymphatic ducts. There's a little hollow above your collarbone. It's just a gentle pulsing straight down. You're not going fast and you're not going deep. Think about like a dime's worth of pressure.
Yeah, that's the analogy we use. We always
You
say
use
that.
the dime's worth too?
That's how we learned
I
it.
love learning that. I love learning that.
Yeah.
And 10, 15 times, okay? Then you're gonna go from your ear to the neck, but like the image in the bathtub, you're not gonna start at the ear, you're gonna start down closest to the drain first, okay? I like to use the flats of my palms, okay? And it's down, down. You know how newborn babies, they don't really have muscles yet, they're just kind of like
Mush.
They're just mush, right? So what you're looking to do is to affect the layer of fluid underneath the surface of your skin before the muscle bed. So you're not working on the SCM, you're not working on the scaling muscle. If you're going into that scaling muscle, you've gone too deep. Come up, there's this layer of fluid. It's not gonna feel like much. It's just a little bit like a feather. Then you can go one step higher, and again, it's this downward stroke, downward stroke. Those initial lymphatics will help really absorb the slower you go. Then you can go behind the ear. What I like to do is make a little peace sign, Spock sign, whatever's comfortable. So one hand is behind that ear. Can you see that? Behind the ear, straight down. And then the other one, you can go above the ear.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So much of your work, right? Aren't you moving that towards the ear?
Yeah.
And then really spending that time coming down. And then you do your other side, right? You've already done both. And then once you get, kind of fancy and comfortable, are you ready to do two sides at once?
Yes.
I do this, I really do this so much. I'm not just saying this. Like at night, I literally will just watch TV, especially if I'm fighting a cold. Now, two sides at once. You can either do it like this and come straight down. We can try that first. I also love this one. It's like this, like almost like a half circle. That's the other way I like to describe what we're doing. Imagine the moon, right? Like the moon is a circle. But imagine lymphatic drainage is the crescent part of the moon. So there's a working pressure and there's a resting pressure. So my working pressure, it's almost like I'm drawing a crescent shape. And then I'm relaxing and letting the skin rebound.
I can
You
visualize
see that? You visualize that? I also like to do it where I'm crossing my hands. But be careful you're not coming too close to the neck and throat, staying on those sides, and you're coming straight down. The lymphatic system works on the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So much of our stress is from the sympathetic fight or flight, right? So many of us are in that right now. There's always stresses on us, and taking care of ourselves has seemed in the past 20 years like a luxury, and now it really is such a necessity. There's so many people we need to help in the world, and we have to really take care to avoid burnout. And one of the things to do is our own self-care. I'm really not here to sell you a product. I'm here to show you your hands, show you where your lymph is located, and how you can take the power of your own immunity to help regenerate how you feel, so you can be of service to others ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that my little preachiness? You cool with my preaching?
No,
my little
it's
preaching?
not preachy at all. I think what it is feeling, and our energy kind of feels calmer through that. I love that.
Yeah,
I think that's beautiful. And two, just a couple of my analogies, I always compare the neck to a funnel. That same sort of thing where like a funnel can't drain everything you put in there, like a
Right.
carafe, you know, like when you're making
Right.
coffee, if it bubbles
Yes.
back up, it's because there's
Right.
a stagnation
Yes.
and there's a block. And
Right.
with, you know, text neck and being on the computer and driving
Oh
and
my God, right.
it's just, we're always like this, and even
Yes.
in my industry, we're like this all
Me
day
too.
long.
All day long, I'm like this too.
Boop, boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop. And I find that if I'm at least just sort of aware of what's going on in the neck, and I try to at least kind of open this up a little bit, that's when I can actually feel the benefits
Yes.
of the lymphatic
The
movement.
other move I really love is this.
Yes.
There's this line in the back of your body, right? Kind of like that sunburn line that
Yeah.
you get when you're wearing a t-shirt. Your lymphatics there actually drain to the front of the body, back into the right and left lymphatic duct. So I really love this move too, which is, yeah, you got it.
So good. And
Where you're
there's
just
not like
bringing-
a pulling, like you're not aggressive. It's literally like the weight of your hands.
Correct.
Just
It's
moving
like,
with it.
right, I'm not trying to affect the muscle bed at all. I'm just working in the fluid system.
I think that's honestly why I finally felt energized after our treatment together, because the way the intense energy of a deeper massage or a deeper, you know, modality would make me feel as like I'm already depleted. It kind of adds more stress to my body, even though it's intentionally like
Right.
beneficial.
Right.
But when we're constantly depleted, which is most of the conditions that I see,
Yes.
we need something that at least brings us up, that doesn't add more work to the body. It's just encouraging the work that it's already doing. You know, it's giving it that flow
Yes.
again.
And drinking water, I'm gonna have a sip, is really important. I love having a glass of water with lemon in the mornings.
Yes.
You really do feel that vibration too, that clearing, that cleansing.
Oh yeah, it's very Ayurvedic to just cleanse with that first, because you want to, your systems are resetting themselves in the evening, and we're constantly disrupting our circadian rhythms just by always looking at our blue light or kind of pushing into our third and fourth wind of the day, that it can often sort of stall or stunt some of our natural detoxification, which is why we have some of that sluggishness, that inability to, you know, use the bathroom in the morning, like that tenseness.
So much digestive issues
Puffiness.
and constipation.
Yes, so
Yes.
when we are able to start our day with, I mean, ideally you want to like pee first, you want to flush anything out, and then you could do like any cleansing with tongue scraping and then a little lemon water. That can really set everything up for success.
Yes.
Even if it is just like regular water, room temperature, or if you need it, you know, warmed for your constitution, that's totally fine too. But that for skin is essential.
So important. And you know, it's so interesting in the lymphatic industry. 50 years ago, they used to prescribe diuretics to people, thinking that lymphatic was a water weight that we needed to eliminate.
Like get rid of the fluid.
And what they realized finally is that your lymph needs fluid to move it. So they stopped prescribing diuretics, because what was happening is you were getting more fibrotic tissue, because you need fluid, you need water to hydrate your cells. It helps move your lymph. So don't be afraid to drink water. Your lymph system is not excess water.
No.
So I just like people to know. I don't know if people know that. Some people sometimes come to me and say, "Oh, I'll just take a diuretic," and I'm like, "Please don't. You'll get more stagnant."
Oh, that makes me so sad.
I know.
I don't get that. I don't get anybody asking me that, but I do get people who just are like, "Oh yeah, I'll drink some water," but then instead they're drinking different types of fluid that are unintentionally causing more dehydration. And I'm like, ugh. I don't want to tell you to not have your coffee or your wine.
Or your tequila. I mean, it's okay to.
But in addition to doing that, you have to make sure you're encouraging actual water intake.
Right.
You know what? This might be off topic, but not really, since we're on the water tip.
We could talk about anything.
What do you think about like mineralizing the water in any way? Because I often get asked, okay, well, should I be drinking an alkaline water or is tap water okay? And what I do, this is personally what I do, is I either, if I'm feeling particularly depleted, is I'll make infusions, which are just kind of like these overnight like herbal blends, and I let the herbs sort of just immerse themselves into the water completely with like a nettle or something that is just bee rich, and then I feel a lot more hydrated. Or I'll do a little bit of Himalayan pink salt into the water to mineralize it a little bit, and then I feel like I'm not just constantly drinking and feeling depleted. But I also have a Berkey, one of those water filters that just helps eliminate a lot of the contaminants that's in LA water. What are your thoughts? I'd love to know.
It's such a larger subject that
it's a different live.
It's a different live, only because depending on where you live in the country, there's so much water that's not safe. And this is such a larger problem, I think, in the United States, unfortunately, and elsewhere, really.
In the world,
in the world, and even buying water in plastic, and we know the plastic leaches into the water. But I also have a lot of clients who are going through treatments for illnesses where they can't necessarily add certain things, or they're working, sometimes their oncologist or their nutritionist has them on certain things. So I will always defer to somebody's oncology treatment, or their primary doctor, or their herbalist, or their naturopath, or their homeopath, recognizing what is beneficial for them in their water or what isn't. One thing, because you brought up salt, is that is the one area that we definitely will say can be inflammatory for people. Even though the pink Himalayan salt, I use it in my cooking, is the most beneficial, is a beneficial salt. I will tell my clients to avoid salt intake. So I usually just have I usually just have a conversation with them about what their doctors recommend.
That's true, and honestly, that's what I do too, because I don't want to get trapped under, well, you told me to eat salt all day, and I'm like, no.
Right, people will take one thing you say, and they'll do it like, literally, I'll have people come to me. I had this client many years ago when I used to work at UCLA Medical Center. I had this woman, she had really bad lymphedema. She'd had it for about 14 years. One arm was like twice the size of the other arm, and we got it down to almost normal. And she came and checked back in 6 weeks. I taught her the self-massage sequence, and she came back in 6 months, and it was elevated again. And there's a process we do of investigating, what are you doing? What exercise, food, this. Well, she was aggressively taking the self-massage that I taught her, and doing it too hard, too fast, too much. And so if there's anything I can help you with is, again, type A, we can be type B. Take it down. We don't need to overstimulate the lymphatic system. You don't have to worry about doing it all day long.
So what would you say would be, for those who need the clearest
clear regimen
description, how many strokes, how often,
Perfect.
What would you say would be the ideal, at least to get started
Great.
with?
Well, first of all, I usually meet somebody individual and give them an individual plan. However, because I want you all to get started, if you're gonna do it, I would say about 15 strokes. 15 strokes. 15 strokes. And I'll tell people 2 or 3 times a week.
That's perfect. That's so attainable, and the entirety could take, what?
5 minutes?
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
I
Just
love that.
know your direction, starting the hollows from the ear down.
I love that.
That's all you really need to do. I'm assuming you're exercising. I'm assuming you're moving your body, all of those kinds of things.
Drinking your water.
Drinking your water. And the other thing, if we can talk about, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I would also love to talk about the breast and the armpits. Can we do that real quickly?
Yes.
The chest and the breast.
Well, because...
And the abdomen. Can we get to those 3? Do we have time?
Yeah. I'm going to talk
and then
a
we have
little
questions.
bit... I'm going to talk a little bit about this too, but
Perfect.
I actually think... Let's talk about this first.
And then we'll do the gua sha.
Yes,
Perfect.
and then
Sound
we'll do
good,
abdomen.
everyone?
Because
okay.
when we do... Well, when I went to esthetician school, the first place I touch, I don't go straight on the face. This is kind of like
Right.
boom, aggressive.
Yes, right.
I start with like an introduction of the touch, and I do kind of like a décolleté like massage.
Yes,
And
yes.
I can't tell you how many women are just tense. They have and they could have different weights, and different breast size, and everything is just like, there's some women,
Well, it's a taboo.
I just want to crack them open.
It's such a taboo area, and there's so much misappropriation. There's
Yes.
misappropriation and misuse of other people with this area of our body, and depending on your breast size and puberty, I know I grew up and I had larger breasts, and I was always afraid of somebody saying something, or I always felt uncomfortable. So I always, it took me a while to stand up and not feel like I'm gonna draw extra attention that's unneeded. I had to really work with that in clothing.
And two, for like the heart chakra,
completely,
when I feel, because I didn't have that issue. I was smaller breasts, so if I was going through a particularly like heart-centered time where I was either going through heartbreak or grief, I would find myself kind of closing up.
Right.
And then yoga would crack me open and the light would just shine through. But no, I agree. So it very much is on a physical and an emotional scale why we can have these just huge blocks here.
Completely, yes.
So tell us everything.
Really quick, so as we talked about in the beginning, if you were here in the beginning, your lymphatic fluid from your torso, from the neck to your waist, front and back of your body, most of it is going to drain into the arm.
Would this be really great for women who are...
Yes.
Well, I'm thinking too, because the majority of us have breast tenderness in our luteal phase of our menstruation, and then also
menopause, perimenopause. I work a lot with people who cancer treatment will sometimes put them into menopause, and even women who haven't had cancer treatment in menopause, we don't have that sloughing off anymore. So it's so important that the breasts don't get congested. So
what about pregnancy? And then
I work with pregnant women doing lymphatic also, and they're always begging me, right? Because you could get mastitis.
Yes.
Once you are breastfeeding, I had a bout of that, and they always tell you get in a shower and massage your breasts. So once you've done that, then you can show us some of your décolletage massage, or just a gentle moving. So in manual lymphatic drainage, we don't use oils. The oils will glide on the skin and you'll miss that initial pickup. So some people like to use a lotion. Sometimes I'll use a light lotion where I could still get that grip of the skin. If you want to use an oil, it's okay if that makes you comfortable.
Just very light.
Just very light. Again, feather. We are not going to the muscle bed. We're not massaging the pecs. And make sure you're going towards your fingertips. Again, think about...
the crescent.
Think about the crescent. I'm not going in a circle. I'm drawing a crescent half circle. Now, do you want to show us the gua sha?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
So a lot of people tend to get confused with this, and this is probably one of my most frequently asked questions, because a lot of the training I have had is actually moving up. And
and we do the opposite.
The reason why you would almost, if you wanted to incorporate this into your at-home self-care and your skincare, I would do this before you do your lymphatic, because this will almost help unblock some of that super stagnant lymph and those super stagnant proteins, like everything that's just stuck, because you can certainly just go straight to the lymph. And eventually, if you do incorporate that into a beautiful self-care practice, you're 3 times a week. I feel really stimulated.
Don't you?
Everything's
so
really good.
I know. Are you following along? Are you guys doing it? I hope so.
I feel so good right now.
I know, me too.
But so if you're really blocked, or if you do have a condition in which you're just like, how can I incorporate these tools because they're so beautiful? You would want to use the same sort of mindset of the slow, light pressure. It's just the pressure of the stone. I essentially just have my thumb kind of be my guide, and use just the pressure of the stone to kind of move upwards and outwards. So you would want to start on the back of the neck and kind of just like slowly glide up and kind of just wake it up without like aggravating the skin towards the angle of, or towards like this back part right here. I can kind of see if I can demonstrate it. Just
that's good.
Right in there.
Oh, that base of the occiput
yes,
there. Where everyone is so,
yes.
has so much tension there.
And then it's just moving upwards and just along the neck. If you have a thyroid condition, I would avoid on top of the thyroid, just to be safe. Most people are like hypo or hyper, so I don't want to tell somebody.
Well, but also I've worked with clients who have Graves and they don't want stimulation around there too.
Exactly.
So if you have Graves, know that too.
Just keep that in mind. And then slowly working from the center where we have this life force meridian where everything starts to accumulate. That's why we get breakouts in our T-zone. If we don't activate this meridian and get it flowing so that the lymph can move through and eliminate that waste, that's why we'll start to get all that congestion kind of like surrounding, and then it falls into those areas.
And we see that too with lymph.
Yes.
The right drains to the right and the left drains to the left.
So it's important to just slowly move the stone.
Oh, that looks so nice.
Right out here, and then once you get to kind of the perimeter, you can kind of just shake it out. Move upwards onto the face. Just following the curvature, and this is great for under the eyes.
Do you keep them in the fridge? You keep them out? What do you do usually?
I don't, but the rose quartz tends to keep a really nice cooling temperature.
Oh.
This is my white jade that I use in my treatment. This is great for getting like kind of a hook. It's got the comb, so you can kind of go into the hairline. This doesn't keep as cool, so you can definitely like heat it or cool it if you need to. But if you're just doing it at home, you're fine.
What's the white stone? Jade.
Yes, white jade, which is beautiful.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Stunning. And then you can move sort of upwards and outwards. So it's just kind of an up and out motion. And then if you're feeling into it, you can kind of drain everything back down into those areas. Again, I just would go on the face. I would just move up and out. Let the curvature of the stone just do what it needs to do. And if you have existing like cysts, pustules, things that are just already up and out, you can just focus on the neck, or you can go around it. Because if you're pushing on it, you can unintentionally push the infection further down and have it spread, which we don't want. But just slightly around it works really nicely to help move it along. But because this encourages that detoxification and that flow, if there is anything kind of under the skin that needs to come out, it will probably flush out. So the water intake is key, and the post-treatment with the hands actually would be the perfect way to ensure it doesn't pull out on the skin. So slow, steady, soft,
And what's
intentional.
What's the difference, can I ask you, between if someone buys one of those versus the roller, the jade roller, the rose quartz roller?
That's such a common question.
Yeah.
The roller, I think, is just kind of easier. This is like more intentional in the sense that you actually have to follow the curvature of the face, and you have to use your hands in this really nice way. But with the roller, you can kind of just go the same direction, but you also don't get to kind of shimmy it at the perimeter.
I like that, yeah.
To really kind of wake up that flow to flush
so
down.
Great.
It's really nice, and once you kind of open everything up, if you've got, the 11th areas that just really need a little bit more stimulation to kind of activate that blockage, just use one of the little corners that you feel comfortable with, and without being aggressive, just a slight pressure, just focus, up and down, and then you can kind of just vertically, horizontally sort of massage in to kind of break that up, sort of wake up that super stagnant area, and then flush it out again.
What about people who, in your practice, who've had like Botox or fillers with those?
See,
do people ask about that?
Yeah, and I would just not. I wouldn't
You wouldn't
do it.
use that?
No, you can't do it.
They should not use that if they've had fillers.
Well, if they've had filler within the past week.
Right. Let's say it's
honestly,
been like 4 months or something.
Then yeah, that's totally
They
fine.
can use it.
It's frustrating when I get somebody laying down on my table, because you're also not supposed to lay down, and you don't want to be responsible for
moving the filler
and everything.
somewhere.
And they're like, oh, by the way, I just got Botox and filler, and I'm like,
They should probably wait a
So
couple
then
weeks before they see
lift
you.
them up and I can barely do anything. And it's so frustrating. But I mean, it's not to discourage anybody. If that's your form of self-care and that's what makes you feel gorgeous
I have
and
a lot of
beautiful,
clients who do it.
they do it.
I
We live in
have
LA.
no issue with it.
Yeah.
But
think
I
it
just
can be-
wonder about
I think it
the
can
tools.
be what this will do, because essentially, I mean, Botox will dissolve within 72 hours, but because it restricts that mobility to begin with, we're just going to encourage that to start moving again. But I think this kind of, in between those sessions, if you only want to do Botox like once a year, this will help encourage that flow so you don't actually have to get that done. Plus, as a reflexologist for facial reflexology, these points and some of the areas, they're actually indicating like nervous system points and different systems in the body that are asking to be supported. So when we silence that communication by just getting it to feel immobile, sometimes I think it's doing us a bit of a disservice, when especially the 11s can correlate a lot to the spinal health.
That's so interesting.
It's so interesting. And then right in here can be like your shoulders and your arms. That's why we all have this.
Right.
Because
oh my God.
you know? So encouraging neck flow and encouraging neck support can most likely calm this down to begin with, where you don't actually have to invest in those treatments.
So I know we're coming up almost to a close, and I want to know, do we have any questions? I know we had one question that I wanted to answer about hormones.
Yes, the question is, this is coming from Amber Dawn Radiant Skincare.
Hi, Amber.
So in regards to this, do you have any suggestions for lymph support for people who are sensitive to hormonal changes during their monthly cycles, or people who break out a lot when stressed? I have a few clients who are extra sensitive to hormone fluctuations.
Well, I'll just start with the lymph for 1 minute. I'll give you, and then we'll wrap up. So, yes, there's so many hormone fluctuations that are also related to your lymph. So I would just encourage you to do your self-massage with your lymphatics, even the armpit. And I think what would be a really nice way to end today is to show you some deep breathing techniques that will also help calm. So more lymphatic massage during those hormonal times are so beneficial to help encourage that sloughing off or those premenstrual symptoms. What about you?
So I try to encourage all of my clients to navigate the different phases of their cycle, and it's so different because everybody is either on a birth control, their stress is altering the length of their cycle, but just trying to cycle that in and get to know your phases, or get to know what ideally should be happening in those phases, because your hormones go up, they go down, they go up, they go down, and just like our main times in our lives in which our hormones change so drastically, like puberty, pregnancy, perimenopausal, menopausal, like those are the times in which our immunity, like all of a sudden we can crash, and we have these breakouts that come from it because we're not supporting those symptoms. So a lot of rest. These treatments are really, really, I encourage them a lot. To me, I don't necessarily think anything is like a hormonal breakout. I do think it's like a lack of flow in your lymph. So kind of reframing that in your mindset and just encouraging you to identify what foods to eat during those times to help encourage your immunity, so that your flow is actually going to help you stay as healthy and as bright as possible. I get a lot of sleep.
I get so much sleep.
I
shut down like at 9 p.m. I'm just shutting down, either doing. And last, let's finish with some deep breathing, shall we? So if everyone wants to just sit comfortably, lie down, whatever you like to do, with our deep abdominal breathing, what you're going to do, you're going to inhale and push the breath into your hands. So it's like the opposite of what we were taught is when we were younger, like don't suck your belly and push it out on your inhale. And when you exhale, then it moves back towards your spine. Inhale, balloon the breath into your hands. Relax your shoulders, exhale. Keep it going. Inhale, pushing the breath out lightly. Exhale, letting it go. All this deep abdominal breath is going to help move the lymph from the legs up the thoracic duct, where it's going to rejoin back into your bloodstream, and it's gonna help calm your body.
Oh, that feels incredible.
All of the lymphatic stuff too, Christine, we talked about, will also help your skin glow from the inside out for summer.
Exactly.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. This was so fun.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Haley.
Thank you so much.
This was so great.
We're gonna keep this on the live for 24 hours, so feel free, tag your friends in it, and I'm so excited. Let's do this again.
We'll
soon.
do it again. We'll do it
Yes,
again. Thanks
thank
so
you.
much. If you have questions, let us know.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.